Greetings, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Dr. Faisal Sami here, board certified radiologist. And I want to welcome you to my website and to this video about our immediately available 1099 independent contractor teleradiology opportunities. So let's dive right into it. My name is Dr. Faisal Sami. I'm the CEO of Chicago Telerad, and I started in teleradiology in the most humble of ways, perhaps like many of you, as a teleradiologist cog in the wheel of a big box teleradiology company. Now that's great if you're just starting out, like you just graduated residency or fellowship, and you just want to get your feet wet and you want to just dive in. There's a lot you can learn from big box companies, right? But as I observed and learned all the moving parts in the business, it struck me that I could do this on my own. So I first started out contracting for the low hanging fruit. Now, this is while I was working at a big box company. I reached out to some imaging centers, some mobile x-ray providers in my area. I said, hey, I'll do your teleradiology work. And so I started reading some of that. And I got a few of my buddies to help me out with that stuff. And I made a little bit of margin on it. So it was enough, to make my car payment for a while, and then two car payments for a while. That was a nice little side gig. And it was always okay for a while. Now the story usually ends right there for 95% of radiologists. Like 95% of radiologists never get beyond a W-2 remote job or a 1099 independent contractor limited job where they're just working for one client, right? And that's pretty much it. And maybe they're doing a little bit on the side. But I decided to push it further. And that's when I got involved with hospital contracts. Now, keep in mind that hospitals are not easy to deal with. There's a lot of moving parts, right? There's a lot of layers of intermediaries to get to decision makers, and the organization as a whole doesn't move together in unison at times. There's different constituents you got to address and how to deal with them, and different parts of our organization do this on a daily basis. We interface with different parts of the hospital organization. Now, dealing with hospitals, now that cannot be done at scale on the side as a W-2 radiologist working somewhere on site or remotely even. A lot of radiologists that I talk to have this fantasy that they can keep working on their on-site W-2 job or W-2 remote position or single client 1099 independent contract and build a teleradiology business on the side as a side gig, right? I'll tell you that it can be done, but you will largely be limited to small potatoes and scraps. If your goal is to build a teleradiology practice that wants to scale, not everybody's goal is that. Probably most of your goals are not that, and that's perfectly fine. What I'm here to share with you is some incredible opportunities in how we go about making teleradiology compensation really exciting and interesting again, while improving your life, right? So what I realize is that bigger clients / fish need teams of people from our side to make sure all their needs are being met. And we'll talk about that more on another video, but suffice it to say that it takes a lot of investment in time, capital, expertise to bring all these moving things together. Now, I heard this saying on a boat in Istanbul. We were in the Bosphorus. We were on a boat with about 10 other people. And this guy was talking about deep sea fishing. And he said, to catch the big fish, you have to go into the deep parts of the sea. And that just struck me. I looked at the guy, I was like, that is just so profound. And when I thought about this and how it relates to my business, it really struck me that most of my revenue comes from hospital clients. Now, I had graduated from the big box company. I started doing my own contracting with hospitals and whatnot in a very crude fashion, making tons of mistakes, failing, having some success, failing again, and then building upon some incremental successes. And so I thought, what if I could contract with hospitals and have a team of teleradiologists working as extensions of the on-site practice? Now let that sink in for a second, because this is very different than the big box model. So without going into great detail about insurance billing, hospital reimbursements, hospital contracting, yada, 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 suffice it to say that we went back to the drawing board on teleradiology compensation. And we came up with something that I think that you're going to really like. So in a nutshell, our motto is this: we pay honest hourly pay for honest hourly work. No gimmicky pay-per-click RVU schemes, period. It's as simple as that. So basically, instead of paying per click, we pay by the hour. This guarantees you a steady stream of teleradiology revenue for the duration of your shift. You don't need to worry about empty queue time or getting enough CTs and MRIs to make decent money or meeting some kind of ridiculous and gimmicky RVU pay-per-click quota scheme. I mean, I hear some of these quota schemes and they've got minimums and they got thresholds and they got bonus zones and this and the other thing. And by the time you look at the statement, your head is spinning. It's like, what did I really make? Like, what do I really have to do to make any kind of decent money here? And I've seen all the compensation schemes. They're all just variations of one of another. I mean, seriously, some teleradiology sweatshops have minimum quotas of 85 RVUs in a shift. And I think the range is somewhere between 65 and 85. And that can translate to over 150 cases in an 8-hour shift. And that just leads to exhausted radiologists. So while I'm all for increased productivity, it cannot come at the expense of radiologist sanity, radiologist professionalism, or the greed of non-physician third-party intermediaries that take little bites out of the radiologist pie, right? And they take all these bites without having to do any of the work or carry any of the liability for radiologic interpretation, right? So we completely redesigned the model. And using our motto of honest hourly pay for honest hourly work, we approached our hospital clients and put all of our cards on the table. We said to them, look, this is your problem. This is what's going to take to solve your problem. Period. That's it. Full stop. It was literally as simple as that. Now, some, but not all of the hospitals agreed. Some of them just laughed at us. Some of them looked at us like, what are you talking about? Like, where's your RVU scheme and how are you going to pay and what are your hours of coverage? I just said, that's all perfectly fine. Like, you know, this is what we can do because we're looking at your problem and how many shifts you need and how many radiologists, whatnot. And this is what's going to take. And some hospitals said no, and some hospitals said, you know, think about it, and they never got back to us, which is fine. But some hospitals said yes. And those are the hospitals that we focus and work on. Now, since then, we've formed many partnerships with hospitals in multiple states. Now, the hospitals, they just want to get the work done. Like their interests, they're not aligned with the for-profit private equity outfits. Now, these outfits in the past have gobbled up large swaths of radiology business, right? And a lot of the hospitals just like our honest and straightforward approach. And that's just the way we keep it with them. One hospital CEO, they commented to us, they said, I wish all the teleradiology companies out there could be just like you guys. So why am I sharing all of this with you? So if you're a teleradiologist right now, you are sitting at an important juncture of the teleradiology landscape. Things are going to start shifting, actually in a monumental way. There's monumental shifts going on right now in the teleradiology market, and we're seeing this on a daily basis. A lot of the hospitals are just dying for coverage. They're letting go wholesale of several of the big box outfits. Why this is happening is multifactorial, but I think on a very granular level, there's a wholesale rejection by radiologists of all the gimmicky RVU pay-per-click schemes. They're just absolutely tired of it. That combined with a lot of older radiologists retiring, millennial radiologists that just do not want to work as many hours or many shifts during the week, and probably a whole bunch of other factors that I don't even know about. But these shifts are shaping and are going to impact your careers forever going forward. So you need to be on the right side of these shifts, right? So my message to you right here and right now is this. The gimmicky RVU pay-per-click compensation schemes are not written or created to work in your favor. All these schemes have profit margin built in for the outfit first before any consideration of you as a radiologist. And what we've done is we've completely abandoned all gimmicky RVU pay-per-click compensation schemes, and we only pay a high hourly rate for honest hourly work across all of our contracts. So you can just forget about those tables and how much you get per MRI and CT and ultrasound. It's just, this is what you get for an hour of work. We expect a reasonable amount of work, and we'll talk about reasonable more in detail, but it's exactly what you think it is. I mean, if you think, you know, when you're reading too much, you know when you're reading too little, and we know, you know, when you're doing a reasonable amount of work. We want you to be in that reasonable zone. Don't kill yourself, but then, you know, don't steal from us either, right? So 80% of the radiologists can follow this. 1 in 5 radiologists we have to talk to, and probably only 1 in 5 out of those, we have to, either let go or, have a serious conversation about, hey, you need to read more than one case per hour. Almost none of the radiologists abuse the system. It works out fine. If anything, I find in general, our radiologists tend to work harder than the radiologists in the pay-per-click compensation schemes, because there's kind of like this transactional honesty, and they just do the work. So 99% of the time, I don't have a problem with radiologists meeting thresholds and the hospitals being happy and all that. Because in general, I mean, we're all just a generally good group of people that want to do the right thing. And that's just my motto. I give everybody, one chance. And if they mess up, then, there's other radiologists that want that hourly compensation. So, if this even remotely sounds interesting to you, go ahead, enter your name, email address, and phone number below to gain access to all the videos where I outline in detail the current 1099 independent contractor teleradiology contracts that we have. Each teleradiology contract has its own dedicated detailed video where I'll explain to you the state license needed, some background about the hospital and client, what the needs are, and how you can get started working with us right away. We oftentimes get teleradiologists working in as little as 10 business days. This sounds shocking when I tell people this, because they're used to, a month-long time frame. But well, I'll tell you how that all works out and why that's in place if you have the state medical license. So that's key. If you have the state medical license, sometimes it's possible to get you working right away. Now, if you've watched all the way this far, go ahead, enter your name, email address, and phone number below to gain access to all the videos. Now, keep in mind, we also get some immediate flash teleradiology hospital contracts where they need teleradiologists right away. Sometimes we have 48 to 72 hours to act on these contracts. So if you're on the email list, you'll be some of the first to hear about them directly from me before they go out publicly. So that's the benefit of being on the list. We oftentimes get temporary privileges right away, IT, software, hardware coordinated quickly, and have you working immediately without waiting months to get started creating income. So go ahead and enter your name, email, and phone number below, and we'll see you on the other side. Thanks.